After working with creatives for the last 11 years, I've heard one statement more than any other. I hate marketing. I get it. It can be painful trying to figure out how to market your book or movie or comic. When I started podcasting, I had no clue how to do any of it. I was afraid of doing it wrong, looking like an idiot or making a marketing mistake that I could not recover from. It can be paralyzing. Sound familiar? If it does, let me see if I can help you. I got my MBA in marketing, so you don't have to. Sign up for a free session today to talk about your marketing goals and to see if we're a good fit. If nothing else, you'll get some insights that might ease your mind. Go to southgatesmallbusiness.com and sign up for a free session today. Welcome to Alley Chats. I'm your host, Rob Southgate. Alley Chats is a virtual artist alley featuring interviews with artists, filmmakers, podcasters, writers, really any creative person you might find at a pop culture convention. My goal is to help draw attention to cool people and to hopefully help them get some new fans. I want this podcast to raise up these amazing people and to inspire you, the listener, to chase your dreams as well. You can follow Alley Chats on Facebook and join the conversation. I'll add more social media in the future, but for now, that's the best place to interact with me. You can also email me directly if you would like to be a guest or have a guest suggestion. My email is rob@smgpods.com. Welcome to Alley Chats. I am Rob Southgate, and today, maybe it's not Alley Chats. It might be Ink Blots. It might be something else. We don't know. But the show we're going to pretend it is today is Alley Chats up in the corner there. Today I have with me author Alan Shivers. And Alan is an author that is going to be part of Books and Brews 2 at Scarlet Lane Brewing Company in Indiana. So exciting. So order your tickets. By the time you've seen this, it has been announced that he will be there. And that's coming up next summer. I went to Books and Brews 1. It was an absolutely fabulous event. You do not want to miss it. And plus you get to meet Alan, which is, a bonus, right?
Hopefully.
Hopefully. So let's jump into this, Alan. You know what? In fact, let's start a different way than I normally start these. Why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So when I was 6, it all started. We're
going way back. Into the Wayback Machine.
No, so I'm from Brussels, Belgium, capital of Belgium. So I'm an author. I'm a slasher author specifically, focusing mostly on queer representation, mental health awareness, anything connected to European cultures, languages. Those kind of things are very important topics in the books for me. And except for writing, I'm big on meditation. That's one thing that's really big in my life. 1-2 hours a day. I love architecture, bit of a geek. And proud of it. I come from the city where Art Nouveau was born, like Chrysler Building and everything was, the inspiration came from Brussels. And yes, we have waffles and beer and chocolate. That's it. Fair. And I'll bring it to Books and Brews. Yeah. So if I go to Books and Brews and no one's queuing up to see me because I'm still a bit of a newbie, I'll just lure them in with waffles and chocolates and hopefully.
Now that's the way you do it.
There you go.
Is there a big horror scene there in Brussels?
No. Well, for films, yes, I have to say, because there's the BIF Film Festival. It's the biggest European Brussels International Fantasy Film Festival. It's massive. It's where almost all the big films are premiered, European ones, also American ones. It's a really nice event, and I'm trying to get a table there this year for my books too, because I'm from Brussels and it's a 10-minute walk. So I'll be like, hey,
right here. I'll bring chocolates and waffles.
Yes, exactly. But sadly, when it comes to literature, not as much. I've talked to this about other authors from the States mostly, that Americans are way more open-minded when it comes to the genre. There's a little bit of snootiness, I feel, or snobbiness at times when it comes, sadly, to horror books. Even I've gone to the different shops in Brussels for my books. None of them were open to it. And I have to say I have good readership and I'm very grateful for that. But it's mostly the States, Australia and the US, not in Belgium. No one has an idea who I am, and that's fine here. But in a way, it is a shame because I represent Brussels in my books too, and I represent Europe quite a bit in the book. So it would be nice to uh, for them to be open, but they're not.
Well, I have a question about that. I mean, aside from the genre,
Hmm.
if yours does it matter if yours come out in English or Flemish? Is that something that matters there?
I think so, because I mean, it's mostly French speaking. Brussels, it's a bilingual city, right? The country's trilingual, so you have German as well. Then you have Flemish, my mother tongue, French. I speak both, and German as well, but I mostly speak French in Belgium. And it's a very French-based literature city, and French tends to be a little bit more old school and canon, and the big ones like Les Miserables and things like that. So there's even at schools, you don't really read modern French literature. It's always the big old ones.
Sure.
So it's a different approach to literature, sadly, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you'll have great success here. I am sure of it, especially you're doing
Hopefully.
slasher. That's a
Hmm.
big area. I bet you have good luck if you go up to, say, London and do something up there, because I know
Hmm.
that slasher is very popular there as well.
Yeah, I've been to Birmingham for the convention. That was my first convention just 2 months ago. And it was really, really fun. I was the only Belgian, the only continental European, the only non-native, which is scary. I'm a bit scared about that in Books and Brews too. Just the idea of I'm surrounded by natives, but
No, don't
I'll do
feel
my
that at
best.
all. And in fact, I know that we had, well, I think we had people, I might be confusing my events, from Australia and from some other places. So, oh, I
Hmm.
do know that we had uh, from England and from Ireland. So,
Hmm.
so there you
Yeah.
go. You won't be alone.
No, I've not. I
So
think it's going to be eight nationalities apparently at Books and Brews. So that's cool. 7 or 8. Yeah.
that's
So pretty
fantastic.
cool.
I love
Yeah.
that. That's what our world looks like. Why is everything people that live locally and white?
Uh-huh.
Let's
Oh
let's see
yeah.
what our world looks like, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, okay, let's get into this some of the questions here. What inspired you to start
Hmm.
writing?
I've always written my entire life. I used to write like little comic books when I was a teenager of slashers, written in Flemish at the time. Really bad, really poorly done, but I thought it was amazing at the time. And there were all these voluptuous women with cleavage and whatnot, and I was like, how did I not know I was gay at that time? But anyway, and then I studied literature at university. I did English and Spanish lit in Belgium. Then I moved to Manchester to the UK. So I always had to do screenplays and poetry and those kind of things. But I never really had the guts, so to speak, to self-publish until the pandemic came along, big cliche, and a breakup came along. So all of a sudden I had time, um, quite cathartic, all of a
Yeah.
sudden, to go dark and to go horror. So yeah, I guess those were the main
Well,
reasons.
wait. You just said you went horror at that point. So were you not writing horror before that?
No, I was always a massive slasher fan from the age of, well, whenever, because I remember like the 90s slashers were kind of my era. I was born in 86. So Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Urban Legend, Cherry Falls, all of those ones were
Okay, sure.
massive, massive. Those were big in Belgium, and slashers are big. I wasn't allowed to watch them, but I snuck in.
Oh,
Sorry,
of course.
parents.
Of course,
Love you.
that's what we do, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I only started with horror because it was in a bit of a selfish mode, thinking I really miss chase scenes in slashers. Chase scenes were so big in the 90s, you
Yeah,
know. I know what you did last summer, Legend again, and I thought we don't have them as much. There are some, but not as much. I thought, well, if they don't exist, I'll just write them myself for myself. And I didn't even think of publishing yet, and it just became a thing where family and friends were like, just give it a go, give it a whirl. If it fails, it
cool.
fails. So yeah.
So, what is it about horror that drew you to it in general? I mean, even though you weren't writing it before, you
Hmm.
obviously were a horror fan. What is it about horror?
Yeah. I think it sounds contradicting, but like a safe space. I've gone through my fair share of stuff in life. Like I think most people that are close to horror, I'm open about this. I've been in treatment for PTSD for a couple of years. Mental health awareness is a big thing for me, and I want to be vocal about it. And it's one of those genres where I feel safe because there's some kind of a framework within the genre that you know by the end you will reach some sort of catharsis that with other genres wouldn't necessarily feel that way, and you can kind of project the fears, the anxieties that you have in life. Because I really, really like attach to characters very easily, like a bit of an empath. And then afterwards, I just watch like I don't know dog fail videos before going to bed, and I'm fine. So it feels like this safe space, and the same with reading.
Sure.
Yeah, I think I don't know. Do you feel the same with horror, or?
Yeah, actually, I mean, I don't know if mine was motivated by not feeling safe, but I'm so attracted to the story. I'm
Mm-hmm.
attracted. as a creator myself, between acting or whatever I'm doing, I've always been very interested in the emotion part of it. Like, how do you elicit that emotion? So, like when I was an actor, I would always say, I will take a boo as much as I'll take applause because it made them do something. It made
Mhm.
them, and horror is a direct line to that. You
Mhm.
know, there's the obvious jump scare, but
Yeah.
there's also I love that feeling that people walk away with and that I walk away with, and that whether it's dread or relief, whichever wherever
Mhm.
you're left in the spectrum, horror
Mhm.
delivers that, right?
Mhm.
And that to me is what makes it really exciting. Plus, I think the whole thing is exciting. I always, and it's not just one genre, even though I do love slashers. What would
Mhm.
you say? Okay, I'm turning the tables on you again.
All right.
What would you say is the best slasher in the last 3, 4 years?
Oof. Oh, good question. Visually, I love Terrifier 2. There was something cinematography. So, how do you say that in English? Help me out. Cinematographically, is that a word?
We'll go with that.
Something like that. There were certain things I thought, oh, this is stunning. There were some neons in there, and of course, there's a lot of very explicit gore in there.
Very
Um,
explicit, yeah.
that bedroom scene made me queasy as toot, and I've never had that. That's the only time in life for a slasher that I
Really?
actually got a bit like, "Oop, just hold on, I was a little bit lightheaded there."
Oh, that's a rough scene.
That's a rough scene, but it's not necessarily the best story. There is
Right.
some lore in there that is interesting, but visually, for me, Terrifier 2, not the gore, but the stuff around it. Like
Yeah,
when
yeah.
Sienna, the final girl, is looking into, forgot now, she has this sword and she's looking into this pit and she's basically being reborn. I remember watching that thinking, whoa, this is way deeper than the first one. So, yeah.
Well, and even that with the first one, not a lot of story, real
Hmm.
basic, but I could not take my eyes off of it,
Oof, no. And
you
also, you
know?
think in the beginning, I guess, final girl, maybe not final girl. Don't want to give spoilers
Yeah,
away, but you know what I mean. Like there's a certain
right,
moment that you go, "Huh? What just happened?"
right,
So yeah,
right.
that one I loved a lot. Was there
Okay.
any for you? Any recent
No,
slashers? I'm
no, give
thinking
me
of other
another
ones.
one. You keep
Yeah, I'm
trying to turn the
thinking.
tables on me.
I'm sorry. I'm just also interested in your perspective. Sorry. Thinking of other ones. What reading? I loved reading Clown in a Cornfield by Adam Cesare, and that
Oh,
is
okay,
turned
so you're
into a
moving to
film.
books. That's gonna blow that
Yeah.
question out of here. So Clown in
Sorry.
the Cornfield, that's on my list. That's on my list to be read.
Yeah,
That's a good one, huh?
yeah, it's YA, but I have a soft spot for YA, and my first trilogy is more geared towards YA. Namaste Slasher isn't YA, by the way,
Okay.
but
Yeah, I
there's
was gonna ask you
yeah,
that because I saw on the first trilogy,
hmm
that it was listed as YA,
yeah,
uh, but n your new book, Namaste Slasher, definitely didn't have that. I wondered if that was something that was just not put on there yet, or if it is
mm-mm.
not a YA book.
No, not YA. It was a conscious decision to, stray away from and try different things within the subgenre. So yeah, this one isn't.
Yeah, and we should, put this out there. The first trilogy was called Europa Falls,
European
a s
Halls. Yeah,
Europea Falls, okay.
Halls.
Uh, Halls, I'll get it
Sorry,
out
sorry.
eventually. Europea Halls, a
Yeah,
slasher trilogy,
yeah. I
and
got them
there's
here if you want to see them. Of course, because I mean, I came
oh, of
prepared.
course, yes. I don't have a little
It's
graphic for it, so
there you
nice.
go. That's the first
Very
one.
nice.
Hmm.
Very nice. And then, like I said, the new book is Namaste Slasher,
Hmm.
which just looks fantastic. It's funny, we set this up today. This is all last minute. We're doing this interview.
Yep, yep.
And
Grateful for it. Thank you once again.
well, here's the funny thing. This morning I was on Facebook, and of course I get, all the Books and Brews stuff and all these other groups. Your book, I saw an ad for, like,
Hmm.
or I saw a post or something, and I went, "Oh, what's this? Very cool." So I was already reading about it when you wrote. I'm like,
Oh,
"Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I definitely want to talk to you. This looks
good to
really
hear.
cool."
Nice. Hmm.
So, well done on the cover. It is you nailed the time period. This is I Know What You Did Last Summer. This is
Yeah,
urban
yeah.
legend.
Hmm.
Like, to me, I looked at this, I'm like, "This is urban legend."
Yeah, I
Uh,
wanted a little sultry pose, and you
yeah,
know what I mean, like the busts and the ooh, we're in danger, but we're still
it
attractive kind of
well,
stuff.
and then, like, the mask being just this, like, blankish look, which was
Hmm.
very urban legend.
Yeah.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
Thanks.
So,
I have to give credit to Are They All Dead, by the way, because he's a graphic designer who's been working for slasher film posters for a long time. and I've been following him. He's from London. I've been following him for a couple of years actually on Instagram, and I was just DMing him thinking, would you ever be interested in doing a book cover? And he'd never done it before, and he was interested, and we started working together, and he's really great. And he's just done another cover for an upcoming slasher film that's out next month from the UK. So the man is doing well. So I feel fortunate that he wanted to work with me, to be honest, and super happy with the outcome. And to have Victor Miller on the blurb, I mean, chef's kiss, as they say. So,
So you, as somebody who has been, even though you haven't been writing horror for
mhm.
particularly long, it's been something that you've been interested in, something you've been around. Have you seen the horror genre change over the years? And do you think it's going to continue to evolve, or are we just going to be rehashing, like we're back to the slasher and it's the same thing, or we're back to whatever? Do you see an evolution occurring?
Yes, but a bit of a pendulum swing, and I think that's just how society works in general. That slashers were big in the 70s, 80s, late 80s. It dipped a little bit. 90s came back up. 95 with Scream, then it went down again. Then you had the resurgence, more and more again now. So I think there'll be a big resurgence for a couple of years of slashers, then it'll probably go down again. I think slashers are a very direct reflection of society. If you
Yeah.
think of like the Vietnam War and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, for example, then you had Sick from Kevin Williams, which was COVID related, those kind of things. It's one of those very direct genres that builds on our fears. But then I don't think it'll be for many years. I think it'll get saturated at some point, and then maybe like the Japanese or Korean horror will take over, or those remakes of, The Grudge, The Ring. We
Right.
haven't had those for a while, so.
Right, we haven't, and there's so much there.
Mhm.
It's unbelievable. I was on a site the
Yeah.
other day, and it was listing all these J horror things, and I was like, I don't know any of these, and they're
Hmm.
huge there, and I was like, "Okay, somebody's gonna be getting the rights to these soon, I'm sure."
I think so, yeah. And same with European horror. It's very different. It's a bit niche. Sadly, I don't think many of them. Have you heard of Martyrs, for example? That's a Belgian
Yeah,
one.
absolutely.
Martyrs Belgian. What's another one that might be known? Haute Tension, High Tension.
Oh, High Tension was see, okay, so, yes, but I'm not a fair one to ask this because my wife and I go to the international film festivals. We seek this stuff out,
Hmm.
and not just horror. I mean, in general. So when you bring up
Yeah,
movies like that, like High Tension is a fantastic movie. It's like
yeah.
there's that French werewolf movie that whenever I bring it up, nobody here knows it. The Brotherhood of the Wolf.
Is
You
that
ever see that
the?
one?
I'm just thinking because probably I know the title, but in French probably.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's the same name or not, but.
it's like a period piece, and it's a werewolf
Hmm.
film, and it's absolutely fantastic. Or Them, which is that French horror film. What a great movie. You
The
know,
zombie one, no, the cannibalistic zombie one, you mean?
No,
Or
no, Them is the one. Did you ever see The Strangers?
yeah, uh-huh.
It's a French one that came out before The Strangers, where these
Oh,
people just show up at a house and terrorize people, and it is unbelievable.
okay.
I think it's better than Strangers, and I'm a fan of The
Hmm.
Strangers.
Same. I'll look it up. So
Yeah, you
don't.
definitely should. It's called Them,
Yeah, I'll check
uh,
translations. But yeah.
but it's definitely worth your time.
Cool.
So, okay, got another question for you then. Since you have been writing, is there any piece of advice that you would give to people that want to start writing horror?
um, let's see. Yeah, I think the main thing is don't worry if your first draft is shit. uh, that's for any genre, I would say. But when I first started writing, I was a bit like, oh, this needs to be perfect from the get go. And there's so
Yeah.
many rewrites, editing, proofreading. That's one thing. That another thing, I think pacing is really, really important. That's something I've learned not from myself, but from the editors and beta teams, arc readers. That sometimes I wanted to rush too much, get the tension in there, but you need to have this. We call it literally a crossbow in Flemish. That do you have a name for that? That you build up the tension, but you need a moment to breathe too in horror.
I
Otherwise,
don't know
it's
what they
too
would call
intense.
that, but, I took a film writing class, and they called it oops and uh-ohs. Uh,
That's
and
an eloquent way of putting it. Yeah.
and you had to have the oops, and then that builds your tension, like, I screwed something up, and then there has to be
Hmm.
that, like, when you hit the uh-oh, that's where your pause is, where
Yeah.
it's like the realization that we screwed up.
Hmm.
Uh-oh.
Hmm.
And then you have this, like, "Ah!" and a drop off, and you get back to, like, "Okay, things are getting normal again," and then, "Oops,
Yeah.
we did something that's
Uh-oh.
gonna cause trouble." Yeah. I always thought that was really a good way to put it, because
It
it
is.
you
Yeah.
can when you know that, and I'm sure you see it too when you're reading a book or when you're watching a film, you'll see there's, like, 5 oops and uh-ohs. These little peaks, you're like, "Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
they just laid it in
Yeah.
here. There
it
it
can't be
is.
like this all the time, right? Because then you
Right,
just
right.
can't. So I
Except for
think
High
that's, yeah,
Tension. That one was
full
pretty
on.
rough.
But to be honest, Belgian and French horror in general, there's not much breathing room in the. It's a very
No.
different type of horror. So
Yeah.
yeah,
You know
it's
what?
very
And I
full
think
on.
that's the other thing. I think that because of like A24 here,
Hmm.
uh, I think that things like folk horror and that are getting made here or being brought here. And I think you're going to see when you talk about the genre change, I think you're going to start seeing that because I mean, people love movies like The Witch, whereas
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
before A24, that kind of thing would have been relegated to art houses. And now it's like so
Hmm.
many people have seen it. So many people saw Malignant. So many people saw
Yeah.
Hereditary,
Mhm.
you
Oh,
know?
they're good ones too. Yeah.
They're all good
Mhm.
ones, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely.
so yeah, I think that a company like A24 or like when you were talking about how, like the slashers in the 90s, they when they start affecting things, well, from a slasher standpoint, Terrifier is definitely causing it, you
Yeah.
know? It's
Hmm.
causing an
It was art
interest.
house first, but then yeah, yeah.
And think about it. Think about young filmmakers that are like wanting to do horror. They're all watching
Uh-huh.
the Terrifier like, I wanna I wanna hang a person upside down and cut him with a saw because that
True
was
that too. Yeah.
crazy,
Yeah.
you know?
And it's nice that practical effects are making a comeback too. I'm a big
Oh,
fan of
yeah.
practical effects in film rather than CGI. So I think the
Yeah.
less you see sometimes, definitely with ghosts and things. Like personally, I'm a big fan of Stephen King's work, and it's the book I loved, but I really didn't. The modern one, the original series, I liked, but the films I really didn't because it didn't scare me because there was so much CGI happening that I
There was
thought,
too
oh,
much. The
it's
the
comical almost.
but the stuff without it was fabulous. It's like you'd think the filmmaker would look at that and go like, "Wow, his Pennywise is amazing. Why do we
Hmm.
have this CGI stuff in here?"
Yeah, exactly. Because the
Although
actual actor is amazing.
I do think at the end they kinda needed the CGI to pull off what they were doing.
Well, to be fair, yeah, I mean, do that with practical effects. Good luck.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's move on to something else. Because you
Hmm.
weren't a horror writer, were there other genres you were writing in, or are there other genres that, like, going forward, you wanna start experimenting with?
In the past, I was mostly writing poetry. I'm not sure if it was any good, but I loved vending through poetry. I love anything historical. I'm from a country where there is a lot of history, a lot of wars as
Sure.
well. Sadly, I know a lot of like through family and things like this. There's a lot of stuff that I've learned from different side of the family, whatnot. I will, for example, I grew up very close to concentration camps, so there's this. You kind of grew up with a different sense of history being from here. So history is big for me when it came to writing little things. Nothing was published ever before, yeah. But I would say anything historical drama, I'm very into. When reading nonfiction, I'm very big on anything with psychology. Both my parents studied psychology, so
Okay.
I was raised in a very emotionally open way, which is nice. And that is reflected in what I read too. Going forward, in the beginning, I thought, oh, I'll do a different type next time because it's book 4 now already. But I want to make another slasher. I just love it. Like once
You've
you're
been
in there,
bitten by the slasher bug, so to
oh,
speak.
yeah, I really have because all the stuff that I haven't seen in film, like the European element and the mental health awareness element and these things that you don't really see in a slasher very often, is just so nice that I can inject that and have people relate to it. Hopefully.
I think that's what makes horror kind of a special genre too, because you
Hmm.
can mix genres. You can mix like you mentioned that you really like architecture. I've seen horror
Hmm.
writers that like really enjoy that part of it. And when you read their books, you're like, wow, there's a lot of architecture going on in
Yeah,
here,
in mine
or
too. You see.
there's a lot of psychology, or there's a lot of
Hmm.
marketing or whatever. It's kind of like we were at the library the other day, and the mystery writers are doing it too. And mystery and thriller and horror all kind of hold hands and skip down
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
road.
Hmm.
And I was laughing at the titles. Those cozy mysteries are really popular.
Hmm.
And I realized when I was looking at 'em, I'm like, oh, there's like the coffee cozy mystery writers, the baking cozy mystery writers, but their titles were fantastic. The best one was Silence of the Flans. And I'm like,
So
that is a fabulous name.
that's on brand. Yeah, yeah. That's good marketing
Oh,
right there.
so good. And the librarian said who said she isn't really into cozy mysteries. She said, "Oh my god, that author, I read everything she writes." She said they are so clever and so fun.
Hmm.
And once again, you're crossing
Yeah,
the streams. I doubt in a cozy mystery you're going to get too much horror, but who knows? Maybe there's
maybe maybe
I mean, if you,
gore-wise less, but horror doesn't
yeah,
have to be gore, right? So,
no, it doesn't. It doesn't.
mhm.
Okay. We're getting close to the end of this. I got 2 more questions for you. Watch,
Yeah,
they'll
go
turn
for
into
it.
14. Um, right now, who are your 3 favorite horror writers?
Oh, that's tough to ask. I've just met so many, and I don't want to like
Oh, offend
be.
them
You
all.
know what I
Give me
mean?
the 3 right now. The first 3 that come to your head. Everybody else, they can be offended because next time you're gonna say their name.
Yeah, Lee Kenny for sure. Cursed was one of my like. Okay, J horror has to come back after Cursed.
I actually Jay or Lee Kenny was the one of the authors I mentioned that came from the UK. That was at Books
Yeah,
and Brews,
Ireland.
and
Yeah.
oh, I loved her. I loved
Hmm.
her.
Yeah,
And
I've
that
met her in Birmingham. She's great.
what a terrifying cover on Cursed. That is
Hmm.
such a disturbing cover. Okay, anyway, who
Yeah.
else?
Oh crap! I thought you would go on to the next one.
No,
Oh
no, I don't
shit.
forget.
Um, Emerald O'Brien. She's more thriller in the past than horror, but she has an amazing slasher series out called Bleed. She
Bleed.
she she
Ooh,
needs more love in the horror genre. I'm telling you, she's been my mentor, one of the mentors, but one of the main ones. She's got Bleed 3 coming out soon. Beautiful mashup of Black Christmas, Halloween, and Scream. It's
good
she's
lord.
Canadian.
Okay, I just
Hmm.
wrote her down. I'm gonna have to get her on the show. That sounds
Yeah,
amazing to
yeah,
me.
definitely. And she's such a like kind soul. She's a bestseller. She's been like hundreds of thousands of books, and she's just really really good. But she's not that known in horror world because she's been doing mostly psychological thrillers in the past.
Sure.
But she's hopefully she's. So I'm sending some love out to Emerald O'Brien with Bleed, Lee Kenny, Emerald O'Brien, Sarah Jules. I have to give it to her. That woman
Okay.
knows how to move me. Have you? She's from the UK. She's got 3 books out now, and she's also the one who edited the Bloody Hell um,
Okay.
anthology from the UK. I don't know if you've heard of that one. That
Yeah,
did
yeah, I
really
have.
well in the UK. And she did what was it? Don't Lie, Sarah Jules. That's also a slasher. So actually, the reason I'm saying those 2 names of those women is because the 3 of us had a little thing going on last year on Halloween. Not like that,
Not
people.
like that.
I'm full on gay and, and single, not desperate. Uh, too
Do I need to
direct,
put a
too Belgian.
profile in the show notes? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, get the right side though,
Yeah,
please,
right,
because I
right.
don't have many right sides. But yeah, Sarah Jules for sure. And the 3 of us were like doing these cross interviews on Instagram and TikTok, and we had so much fun talking about our love for slashers. So Lee Kenny, Emerald O'Brien, Sarah Jules. I have a thing for female horror authors. As much as I love male authors too, female are still too underrepresented, I think. And I think as a male perspective, I don't think I should push them. I want to push them. And they also bring a lot of empathy into the genre. You can't generalize. We also want to write through in an empathic way, but there's a different sort of empathy that goes a little bit deeper sometimes. With Emerald O'Brien, it's a slasher, but actually cried, which doesn't
Oh,
happen very
wow.
often over books. But there was something about sisterhood in there and stuff that felt very personal, that resonated. So a big up for the women.
Fantastic. I love it. Okay, we're almost at the end of this thing.
I
So,
keep babbling, sorry.
Books and Brews is gonna be in Indianapolis. I don't know if you'll be
Yeah.
able to answer this question about there, so you can shift it to Chicago if you need to. But
Mhm.
while you're in town for Books and Brews, what is the thing you're most excited to see or do?
So much. Like I'm taking an 8.5 hour flight from Brussels to get there, which is a big thing for me, anxiety wise. I'm not the best at
Sure.
flying, so I'll probably, you know, conk out. Meeting the authors is absolutely number one. I've met some of them of the European team, let's say. There's 8 of us from Europe, I think, or 9. Just meeting all these big names, people that I've looked up to for a long time. Hopefully not fangirling too much, but I'll do my best. Connecting with the first time with hopefully a couple of readers from the US, because most of my readership is from the States. Like I said, 80%, I would say.
Sure.
Also, I looked up some things to do. I definitely want to go to Kings Island, I think it's called, theme park.
Okay. Okay.
Just ride some roller coasters, but they are terrifyingly high in the States. We have height restrictions in Europe because we
Not
have all
here.
these old historical. No, I saw, and I was like, I don't know if I'll pass out or I'll shoot my pants, but I'll have a good time. I want to visit Chicago. I've been, but love the city. Cincinnati,
Sure.
I'd like to visit too.
Well, you're
Um,
making a whole trip out of this.
yeah, I'll probably stay for like a week and a half or so. Because to be fair, it's it is a bit pricier, and of course, so I want to make sure that I make the most out of the entire experience. And also all the events that Tiffany and everyone else that are organizing and have plans, like actually having a fun night with readers, having like a pizza night, getting to know each other. It's not just an event for like an afternoon, it's an entire 4-day thing, which is a really, really cool concept, I think, that you really get to know people, not just as readers and authors or agents or whatever, or, you know, those things, but actually as human beings. That sounds really interesting, I think.
I know that the first one worked that way. I ended up becoming friends with a number of the authors.
Nice.
And we've actually done a little bit like event stuff after that because of Books and Brews. Just wonderful people, but I'm telling you, it is that community that they're building that is so great. I can tell right now you're going to absolutely love it.
Excited / a little bit terrified, being a bit of a newbie and being, you know, from Belgium and all that. So I just hope that I don't make too much of a fool out of myself.
No, you'll fit right in. You'll fit right in. Come on, they're authors, you know?
Yeah, we're all weirdos. We're all horror
all
people,
weirdos.
right?
My daughter's an author. Yeah, you're all weirdos, and that's a good thing. I'm a podcaster. We're worse. So if you can get along with the podcasters, you're going to be gold with the authors.
I think I should be fine then. Yeah.
Alan, thank you so much. Last thing, where can people interact with you? What is the social media you like to communicate on?
So I'm on Instagram, Alan Shivers Author. On TikTok, Alan Shivers Author. Mostly on Instagram, I would say. TikTok can be a bit flaky with all the algorithm shizzle. On Facebook, on Books of Horror, of course, I'm there as well. Yeah, mostly Instagram, I would say. That's where I, you know, chat most with other authors and readers. Yeah, and the books are on, the first trilogy is on Amazon. It's free on KU. There's paperback hardcover, and Namaste Slasher is the first time that I went wide, as they say. So you can also get it through any major bookshop like Barnes and Nobles. I don't know how they call them in the States. I'm sorry. What else is there?
No, you're right. You're right. Get it at bookstores, get it online.
Yeah.
It's available everywhere. That's the important thing.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Exactly.
Well, Alan, good luck with this release. Good luck with everything. We will see you when you come to Chicago. Very exciting. It's not that many months away. It'll be here before you know it.
Yeah. Thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it.
It would really help me out if you would rate and review this show on whatever platform you use to listen to this podcast. Good reviews help others find the show, which ultimately helps the people I've interviewed get more exposure. You can connect with me on social media or via email. All the links are found in the show notes. If you like this show, you'll like other shows from Southgate Media Group as well, such as Read Between the Lines, a podcast featuring insightful interviews with some of the hottest authors out there, or Go Fund This, a podcast where we interview people about their amazing crowdfunding projects. You can find our shows wherever you listen to podcasts, so give them a try. And if you like what you hear, don't forget to rate and review our shows. It really helps other people find them and keep our team inspired. Alley Chats is a production of Southgate Media Group, hosted, produced, and edited by me, Rob Southgate. Thanks again for listening to Alley Chats.